Hello and welcome back to Cabincast Rambles with Oliver and Tan.
Hello.
Steven Universe Rambles. You know
Indeed.
this. Part 14. I'm 99% sure. Yeah. Last time we had just 2 episodes. Reformed and Sworn to the Sword, but they're both good episodes.
Yeah.
This time, Rising Tides, Crashing Skies, Keeping It Together, and maybe, quite possibly, we need to talk. Hopefully, we need to talk, but we shall see.
Maybe we'll be able to get to the dizzying heights of 3 episodes.
It would be quite impressive. But, you know, it's pushing it. It's pushing it quite a bit. But yeah. So, yeah, let's begin with Rising Tides, Crashing Skies.
Indeed. This is a gosh darn Ronaldo episode.
It is.
But it is
one of the more good ones, though.
Not every Ronaldo episode is good. I'm looking at you, Rocknaldo.
No, that's not. That's not great.
Okay, well, it's kind of an enjoyable episode sometimes, but it's generally not like.
You've got to be in a certain mood for it.
Yeah.
But no, so keep Beach City Weird. Productions releases this thing.
Indeed.
And that's it's just Ronaldo. I mean, I guess his brothers do some of the recording and stuff, but it's shot just like one of those like way over the top documentaries for History Channel and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those.
I haven't seen too many of them, but I've seen one about the Yeti.
Been watching Expedition Bigfoot recently. It's just like that.
It was a similar thing.
Yeah.
It was to do with how it was to do with the Dyatlov Pass incident.
All right.
Which we have covered on Cabin in the Woods cast.
Oh.
But yeah, very very tragic incident, very strange. Involving a bunch of pretty experienced hikers cutting their way out of their tents in the middle of the night with basically no clothes and running off into the snow and the ice and all dying. It's pretty sad, but this thing was
on the surface. This may seem like a normal incident, but if you dig deeper, you may find that there is something amiss.
I mean, it's already amiss, but this one seemed like pretty set on it being a Yeti. And you know, they always you know, they structured and they phrase it in some way that they get you thinking. If you're not paying too much attention, you're not like, if you're not laser focused on it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. And they rope you into it with, you know, with their music and their voices and all that kind of stuff.
I genuinely love Expedition Bigfoot, though.
I've not seen that one.
So good.
I might have to take a look. But yeah, you get a whole bunch of
just like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that, but Ronaldo quality budget. So no budget, basically.
Which does make it charming.
It does. It's very sweet, yeah. You get like interviews with Nana Froid and Ronaldo brother.
PD.
PD, that's the one, thank you. Yeah, and you know, they get actual footage because obviously, they did have to run away from the Crystal Gems attack thing that was happening and stuff, which it is pretty cool of how it gives you the usual perspective of everything that happens. I do quite like that.
yeah, it's nice that we have the sort of the perspective of the townies about this incident.
Yeah. And Harry's like, I missed the explosion.
the only actual footage that we get in this bit, but yeah, we have the gem green hand thing.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit of film from that.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo kind of deduces that the gems have pretty much are the cause of this. All of this happening, them being there.
He does. If I'm remembering correctly, it's like it feels like it's a task failed successfully kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like he gets there, it's not right, but it is. Is that this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's basically like, yeah, you guys protect the city.
They protect it, but they also attract the things that are happening there.
Exactly. Which is, the whole argument made in a whole bunch of places, in Doctor Who and Marvel and
Oh yeah?
yeah. All properties that I've listed that Tan hasn't consistently watched, but
nope.
We'll get to Marvel one day. We will do that.
This the Cabincast rambles of the entire MCU.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Gonna happen. We've started with Mitchell's versus the Machines. We can do the whole 20-something Marvel arc. It's fine. Bye, Craig. But no, the idea that if you've got, have you seen the Dark Knight trilogy?
No, I haven't.
Oh my. I give Chris flack, but this isn't going to get any record either, Chan.
But I'm not someone who I don't claim to be much into film.
No, it's fair. I'm joking, but the idea that if you've got some kind of superpowered being or someone of great power, something that invites challenge, This is a similar but different thing. It's not that they, are this, glorious shining sign of hope. So things are like, well, we don't like that, so we're going to attack it. It's just that they are hiding on a planet that was part of an empire that they kind of rebelled against.
It's just like Star Wars.
Hang on.
Always two there.
Always two there.
You got the powerful good guys, the bad guys rise up against it. There's balance or something. I don't know.
Not how the rule of two works.
Balance in the force.
But yeah, I mean, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, an argument could be made that because Palpatine kept on Palpatining and not dying, that's why the Force created the dyad between Rey and Kylo, and that's how they were able to stop him, because it's all the Jedi and he's all the we could that could work. We got there. It's all good. But yeah,
the Palpatines are really the Habsburgs.
Indeed.
Anyway, we get an interview with some of the townies, Nanafois, to start off with. Yeah, it's just the normal. They're just sort of recounting what happened.
Yeah.
They were just standing around, and then, oh no, things happen. And then, of course, you get Ronaldo's editing technique of not cutting before embarrassing things are said about.
Yeah. Classic. It's like how certain news media outlets will cut off people's stories to get them to say the things they want them to say, and not the things that they're actually saying.
I think Coolsville sucks. It's Ronaldo is honest.
Yeah.
An
Yep.
honest media source. We should trust keep Beach City weird.
Yeah.
PD does his thing of acting very mature.
He does. He does. Mature and wise above his years. Yeah.
Yeah, he always seems to try and do that. We don't get much into it, but well, I guess maybe we did in Frybo, but I've only seen that episode like once, and I don't want to watch it again. So maybe.
No, we don't get a whole lot of it. No,
we don't get much PD.
We don't. Yeah, you know, when Ronaldo's a couple of moments, you know, when he goes and comforts PD. The terror that's happening, you know, he can be decent, but
although I think that was
it was for the show.
For the Vine, yeah.
You can't I can't remember what he says. You can't make something this good.
You can't make up drama this good.
That was it.
But yeah, that's fine.
Things lead to other things, and it winds up with him pushing the gems mid-battle and being like, "This is what I mean, Steven. The bad stuff happens because you guys are here." To which Pearl and Amethyst are like, "Yeah, but wait," and then Garnet's just like, "Nope, let's go. Put Steven on my head. We're out." And they leave. And you get a very brief moment of Ronaldo being like, "Haha, success. I did it." And then PD's like, "Well, kind of sucks to be you, Ronaldo. You've really shot yourself in the foot there, bro."
Yeah.
Because all the weirdness is gone. because they're not there. Except they are still there. They didn't leave.
You skipped a couple of the other interviews, but it ain't too much.
Did I? Whoops. Oh.
It's not like much was in there. You just get a little bit of character showcase.
True. You're right. We had some Sadie.
Bit of Sadie.
Being anxietying, blushing a bit. Yeah.
I mean, Sadie and Kiki, who gets also interviewed,
yes,
is
Kiki.
like they've been in contact with corrupted gems. They helped defeat them in the beach party and Island Adventure episodes.
They did. They know things.
And then, so that understandable that they would know. Mayor Dewey just
yeah.
Cover up.
What cover up?
You can't suppress the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, yes, we get to the bit you said.
Yeah, and then we get so I had skipped over those parts, but yeah, basically Ronaldo's like, "Please come back."
Indeed.
And they're like, "Yep, okay." And then he does his epic shot of him standing on his hill, looking off into the distance.
Interestingly, when Ronaldo kind of flips out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When he asks Steven about what the gem spaceship was about.
Yeah.
Steven says it was coming to get us in a very nonchalant way because, of course, Ronaldo thinks that means like us, but it does of course mean the gems.
Yeah.
And then Ronaldo says that some of his theories, which, as we know from the bit about the Great Diamond Authority many episodes ago, Ronaldo's theories are always like slightly almost correct.
Yeah, it's true. I'd forgotten that.
And he says, "So a hand wasn't here to snatch up humans for a human zoo?"
Yeah, oh, I'd forgotten that line. Yeah,
And that one in particular wasn't.
but
But
another one later will be.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd forgotten that line. That's good. It's good stuff. And yeah, we get his ending
indeed.
speech, and then we get the credits with the blue background, white credits with everything was made by Ronaldo. PD helped with camera stuff, film equipment by Dad's camera, and then it's just the gems who watched it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We've got we do have classic onion moment as well.
We do have an onion moment. You're right. I forgot the onion moment too. About do you feel
Oh.
safe? Yeah. I don't know, Chan. Does he feel safe?
Onion is always safe because
Yeah.
he is
Onion
all
is
powerful.
Onion is one of the only remaining unsolved mysteries. I think.
Mm. Um,
Right? I don't think he ever gets. I mean, he assumedly is just a very strange child, but
yeah, it doesn't get explained, but I guess it doesn't need to.
no, it doesn't.
Interestingly, when when Garnet says, "Oh yeah, we'll leave," then Amethyst Amethyst says like, "Oh, I I liked it here," which kind of would assume or imply that she's been wandering around for a long time. We do know that she came out of the kindergarten late,
Yes.
and we don't exactly know when
When they
she
found
was
her.
found.
Yeah, so she probably did have other quote unquote homes before Beach
Yeah,
City. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's true.
and is perhaps used to having to leave homes.
Hmm. This would make sense. Because it's
And
interesting to
then,
think, like, sorry, if Amethyst is like, is she still older than like all the humans who have lived here, or were the humans kind of living here when Amethyst found them, or like, yeah, because Garnet and Pearl are obviously much older.
it's a good question. I mean, Amethyst was there in Journal of Buddy Budwick.
She was, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Obsidian is a fusion of all of them, right?
You're right, and that's on the temple
And
itself.
Obsidian is on the temple.
Okay.
But I'm not quite sure. So probably before the founding of Beach City,
Yeah.
but presumably that was only like 500 years ago in comparison to the 6,000 years that Amethyst has likely been awake.
Indeed. Indeed.
But yeah, it ends and we get a little nice moment from Stephen, who
We
likes
do.
the video.
He likes the video, because of course he does. And that is that one. Yeah, it's fun. There's not a whole lot to talk about, really.
No.
We still talked about it for like 15 minutes, but just how we do it here at Cabin. God Ramble. So
Did we really?
next
Oh, well.
episode,
Keeping it together.
which is another episode.
It's an episode that doesn't perhaps say that much about. It doesn't like. It's not one of the episodes that is like, Oh, I know what this one is by just looking at the title, but
Yeah.
it is actually quite a good episode
Indeed.
because we get to see some Peridot.
We do, which is immediately amazing. I do like how it starts though with there being a chore wheel and then Pearl crossing off everyone else's name and putting Pearl because she just likes doing it all anyway. But yeah, they're like folding all of Steven's identical shirts. Which like it is very on the nose and ridiculous that he has this many of the exact same shirt. Which is kind of a nice nod to how in, animated shows people have one outfit. That's how it is.
Indeed. So they're for folding the laundry.
Yeah. Yes.
Stephen does offhandedly ask whether Garnet could unfuse to do some laundry.
Mm-hmm. He still doesn't get it.
Yeah. But also, like, in future, that's the kind of thing she might end up unfusing for, because they're a bit more comfortable in their relationships apart as well as together.
Indeed.
But the significance of fusion is something that Stephen will start to understand in this episode.
It is. But not quite yet.
Yeah, it's the beginning. And we learn about injectors.
We do.
Finally.
We've been in
the kindergarten before, but we haven't. We've seen all of the injectors, but we didn't know what they were for the longest time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it turns out they put stuff in the ground which takes all of the nutrients and life, I guess, out of the ground and puts it in the gem itself, which will then pop out later.
Yeah. Indeed. But yeah, if Peridot restarts it, it's bad, basically.
That's their idea. They don't want Peridot to restart gem production on Earth.
We do eventually see, in a much later episode, what the Earth would look like as a full colony.
Indeed.
And it's pretty terrifying. But yeah, that's a way away. So yeah, basically planet bad drain energy.
Thanks.
But Garnet's like, it's all good, you know?
Well, it's not all good that the Earth is going to get drained.
Oh no, but she's like, we'll all be fine. We'll deal with it, and it'll be okay.
Fella it originally doesn't want to bring Stephen along, but
she does not.
Garnet has the perhaps the wise wisdom, foresight, future wisdom, future.
It's some of those words.
The things you said.
Yep. To bring him along, yeah, that's quite possibly it. So they head back to the kindergarten, and Pearl is like a head torch, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
They go to check to make sure nothing's been reactivated.
And Stephen goes off on his own and meets Peridot.
He does.
Again.
He's like, yeah, I'm a gem. I can do what I want to do now. That's why I'm here. It's like, no, Stephen. But yep, he did it.
And Peridot's like still slightly more comfortable with Stephen than with all the others, because the first thing she asks him is, "Are the other ones with you?"
I love his face. And how he's like, no.
Maybe.
And then
yes.
yeah, they're here. So good.
Yeah, that's so good.
And then she's like, cool, that's what we want. and then the others see them, and so she runs away because why wouldn't she? But she can run at walls
Indeed.
because of her limb enhancers that we don't know about yet.
Yeah. Pearl throws a spear up at an injector,
She does,
and
and the
it falls
injector falls down.
and almost crushes Peridot. At
Yep.
which Stephen's like compassion shows, where he's like, "Oh, jeez,
Do you
is
think
she
she's
okay?"
hurt?
And indeed, Peridot says, "I already got what I needed here,"
Yep.
and
And
that
she
makes
flies away.
indeed. And Amethyst and Pearl chase after her, and Stephen tries, but Garnet has sussed it out of the sussy
Yeah.
Amogus.
Yeah. It's one of the first moments where Peridot, when she's kind of flying away, all like shivered up and doing her face, is one of the first Crystal Gem Peridot signs, I'd say. She is slowly, as I said before, when you first see her, she's very just, methodical, scientific, all that, just kind of that, and then over time she just becomes more cackly and snarky and stuff, and that's what this is like. But yeah, Steven's like running away, but he's not actually going anywhere
Yep.
because Garnet's got him. Don't really know how he didn't understand that he'd been lifted up in the air and was being held round the waist. But there we go. So it's Steven for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Garnet's on it.
Yeah. And they head back down. They're about to head back down the tunnel they went
Indeed.
down in Marble Madness.
Indeed.
Stephen asks whether Garnet being smart and strong is because she's a fusion.
Yeah.
Where Garnet coyly replies that I have to keep some of my secrets.
Mm-hmm. And you could definitely draw a line between, well, Sapphire's the brains and Ruby's the brawn, but
Yes.
also Sapphire's like got
They both have their own strengths and weaknesses.
she's still got her strength in being able to see the future, and Ruby's probably more of a tactician, and that is a slight assumption, but probably more of a tactician being the soldier. So
And is, of course, a bit more grounded in the present, which
also that, yeah,
can be useful.
indeed. So Garnet's the whole package because both of them are the whole package.
The idea is that they complement each other, and so
Exactly.
fusion is the more than the sum of their parts.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Which again, Stephen doesn't quite get yet. But yeah, they go down the tunnel.
Indeed. And, well, it's looking a little worse for wear. There's these weird little pillars of rock or metal.
Yeah.
And some of them have been broken.
Yeah.
And we're going to figure out why.
Indeed.
And the reason that is because they've been incubating in there.
Yeah.
But they're not regular gems. They are shards of former crystal gems
Yeah,
that were
it's
shattered in battle that have
pretty
been
terrifying.
sort of melded together.
Yeah. So there's like a bunch of like hands and arms and legs and yeah.
Yeah. And there's, given that many of the things have cracked,
Mm-hmm.
we can imagine that there's going to be a heck of a lot.
Yep, there's a lot of them.
And Garnet is pretty not dealing with that quite well.
We get one of the most like detailed facial expressions, I would say, in the whole show. To really kind of signify how uncomfortable this makes her feel.
Indeed.
And then we get some of the shards, you temporarily see their shape.
Yeah.
Try to form and it doesn't work and they just become this glob, and it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary. It's
really creepy.
traumatizing.
Yeah,
Add
especially
that
the
to
big
the
one.
list.
Yep, we will add this one to the list. But yeah, Garnet's not okay. So that's not great.
Garnet starts to fall apart.
She does.
She begins unfusing out of the horror of it all.
Yeah.
And she's not really talking. She's sort of monologuing, I guess. Not really talking to Stephen.
Yeah, she's just kind of saying it to herself almost.
Now, Stephen's this is one bit where Stephen isn't able to help that much, really.
No.
Although I don't know. What he says is, "This isn't like you," to be unfusing at this.
Yeah.
Which I guess is him trying to say you're supposed to be.
She's coming apart, and Stephen's like, "What's happening? Why are you coming apart over this? This isn't like you said." And
that kind of does put pressure on Garnet to be the strong one of the group.
It does.
Which is something that we get to later in season 5.
And it's like, speaking literally, she is a fusion, so she is the strong one of the group. But that doesn't mean she's going to be the strongest in every single situation. Or that she is going to be the most suited to everything. Or that she's going to be prepared for anything.
Yeah. When Garnet comes back, she's still kind of apart. We see the two sides of her face. The eyes are sort of used because the color of the eyes is ruby and sapphire. Aside from the middle one. And so when Ruby talks as Garnet, you see the red eye, and then when Sapphire talks as Garnet, you see the blue eye. And so they're having.
Yeah, you're right. I'd always noticed that it was kind of them, but
not really an
argument.
The
eye thing. That's pretty cool.
It's like those theater bits where the guy has two different costumes on either side of his body and turns around. Also,
like some of the have you seen all the Lord of the Rings? The scenes with Gollum and Smeagol talking to each other, except
yes,
in the reflection like that one's really good though, because it's all just Andy Serkis being amazing at acting. Because I'm pretty sure he did it all at the same time as well, and he just slightly changes the intonation stuff in his voice. I think I could be slightly overselling that, but I'm pretty sure he's that amazing. But yeah, it's cool. But then Pearl and Amethyst show back up.
Garnet does talk about how it's like it was potentially a punishment for the rebellion, that they took former crystal gems and turned them into fusion experiments.
Indeed.
And like whether it's their fault that retaliation has occurred in this horrific way.
Yeah. Which is always, kind of a thing. Like you do see it, like when
it's not
some
always an
people,
easy question
rebel
to
against
answer.
something or do something, and then that causes problems for others who are still like a part of whatever they're rebelling against. And then it's like, well, is it worth it? And the answer should usually be yes, but it's
If you do the right thing and then other people retaliate in ways that are horrific, then it's a thing that you sometimes see where they blame the people who did the right thing, and it's kind of interesting because it's a moral quandary.
You can completely understand, if you're the person who's had to suffer because of the actions of someone else. Yeah, that sucks.
The only example that's kind of springing to mind though is Project Wingman. So
no, I've not.
I don't know if you've played that. So
I mean,
it's like
I know what
it's like
it
an
is
Ace Combat fan
because
game.
you and Dan talk about it a lot. But yeah, I mean, what the option? Have you seen Prince of Egypt?
Oh.
No. So in the Prince of Egypt, when Moses goes to Pharaoh and he's like, "Let my people go" and stuff, he's like, "I'm gonna make them work harder," and they're like, "Well, screw you, Moses. You've just made everything worse." Obviously, eventually gets them out of Egypt, and it's fairly decent, but yeah, because
So it'd be like if the Pharaoh was like, "Well, it's your fault."
Well, he basically
having
says
to
to
work
him,
harder
"Well,
now,
no, I'm not going to let your people go. I'll make them work harder." And so then, the people have to work harder, and I don't imagine the Pharaoh specifically goes round and tells them, "Hey, this is all Moses' fault," but they definitely get that impression, and so they're like, "Well, all you've done is make things worse for us," which then doesn't help Moses out, who's trying to get them to believe in him, to believe in themselves in order to leave, and then it takes a bunch of other stuff and singing and things to make him believe in himself, and then do the plagues and all that fun stuff, which it's a great film. It's another a great film that you should watch. Even as a non-religious person, it's a very good story, and it's still visually very cool. But anyway, back to Steven Universe.
I'm sure there's some
there almost definitely
current events
are.
that would
almost definitely
would be very relevant to. But I'm not going to say any.
Exactly. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Amethyst and Pearl do arrive.
And they're like, "What's this?" And Garnet's like, "No, stop. Put it down. They're gem experiments."
From what we know, Garnet doesn't want to explain it to the
but
gems. Maybe she does off screen.
To proof all of them, and we get she like does a fist slam and it goes to black, which is
We have heard of like Rose was talking about how, well, not Rose herself.
Yes.
Pearl was talking about how Rose kept certain things from them in order to protect them, and that might be Garnet, given that she has now become the sort of de facto leader of the crystal gems. Maybe she's trying to do the same
if
thing.
If they're proofing them, surely they would see what they are and figure it out, you'd think. But
maybe.
I guess it's also maybe possible that they just take it ever so slightly better. But I don't know. It's not addressed, and it
perhaps.
Yeah.
And it's like with Garnet, she says to Stephen, "I wish you hadn't seen that." But it's something that Stephen needs to know about, regardless. And we see we're back on the
Yeah.
laundry hand of Obsidian now. And Garnet
Being
kind of
resistant.
shows how passionate she is about
Yes.
fusion.
Yeah, no, because they start off talking about the laundry and how it's magic, but yeah, then she gets into the more the deep stuff. Because yeah, Homeworld basically still sees fusion just as a way of getting more strength and more power.
And Garnet values
Mm-hmm.
consent in fusion, which has some analogy, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. Not so. It's not quite the same as with what am I trying to say here? The lapis jasper like fusion, where it's like an unhealthy toxic relationship, is a lot more clear. Where that's unhealthy for everyone involved, and it's not good. So like actually being forced into something like this, like in this immediate sense, doesn't have a direct comparison. To elaborate on it, you can definitely find things that are stuff that we don't really want to talk about. No. And I
Not
don't
on
think
here.
are particularly where the show was. You know, it's a deep show, but it's a kids show at the end of the day. I don't think they were thinking about some of those kind of things. But the idea of gems being forced together without their consent in regards to what fusion is definitely something that can be powered to multiple extents in the real world, sadly.
There's some things that they're similar to some things that I've covered in my one of the years of university in the philosophy of sex module.
Yeah.
That are similar.
It's again like it's not quite as direct a thing because it would essentially, well, I mean, I'd hope it's not a thing because it would essentially be scientists forcing parts of people to, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It starts to break down, but
You might be
very
seeing
literal,
it
but
slightly
yeah.
too.
But if you ignore the kind of
Literal.
external thing and the fact that it's only shards of a larger thing, if you just focus on the gem part and the them being given a choice part, then yeah, got a whole bunch of stuff there.
But similarly, if two whole gems
It would
were
be just as bad for sure.
welded
Yes.
together like they've done with the shards,
Yeah.
Janet would also find it just as bad. And that's sort of the point, I guess.
Indeed.
That it's not fusion when it's not by choice, which is has allegory,
exactly.
which we won't go into. But yeah,
We get more stuff about fusion from Garnet, how it like being fused makes it feel like you're never alone.
Yeah. And you get a little bit perhaps short-sightedness from Garnet and Stephen, in which Stephen and Garnet don't want to break up a pair, they belong together. In which Stephen sort of, I guess, maybe took from that Stephen and Connie belonged together, and that's maybe why he proposed, but he didn't think about how Connie feels about that.
So it's a big old jump.
That case.
And
it is a big old jump, but that was like one of the first things that came to mind when I saw that episode.
I have some more thoughts on that, but I can definitely see how you'd come to that conclusion. We will get there eventually.
But of course, they don't belong together, Stephen
Yeah.
and Connie. They have to
Yeah,
work
and
for it.
it's similar here. The idea that, I mean, Garnet says it herself. I don't think she quite realizes that this is what she says, but you know, she says that she is the embodiment of Sapphire and Ruby's love, and that she will always exist even if even if they are apart, because you know they love each other, and that is a part of them. So they don't have to be together for them to still be Garnet. Essentially, they won't
Mm.
be Garnet, but they will still be a couple. They'll still be together. And she says that here, even though, you know, obviously she wants to be together and be Garnet. Yeah. But she also says, you know, you know, two people can love each other and not be together all the time, which is kind of, I hope, more what
Yeah,
Stephen learns after the whole proposal thing.
hopefully. But I guess Garnet might have. I mean, Garnet's been
Exactly.
Garnet for 6,000 years, and they're sort of immortal. And humans change, and gems can change, but are slightly more. They sometimes are brought up in a way
Yeah.
that they
I
don't
mean, they're a
change.
rock. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
metaphorically and literally
it is
sometimes.
hard for them to change.
And so maybe Garnet was,
Mm-hmm.
thinking in those terms. But for humans, relationships
They
might not
can't always
always
be
be
solid,
for a long time.
like a rock.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, when we get to more Stephen and Connie stuff, yeah, that'll come up, yeah, especially in future, which is further away. But yeah,
Oh boy,
that's
that is a
keeping it
while
together.
away. Indeed, it is.
Now we have we need to talk. Oh,
How much time
spend
did we spend
about
on
20 minutes
keeping
on
it
that.
together? By the
25 minutes, maybe a little longer.
Okay,
We've
so we've
we've got
we've got
enough
enough
time,
time then.
probably. We're gonna jump into it immediately because yeah, we've got at least half an hour, which might be long enough. But We Need to Talk is very
We Need to
interesting.
Talk is interesting.
It's one of my favorite episodes, so
It's
it
also
really is.
about, in some way,
It's
fusion.
kind of about a different side of it to what Garnet was immediately talking about last time, but yeah. They
Yeah,
do.
those
I
two
haven't thought
episodes
about that,
go
but they
well
do.
after each
We're
other.
at the car wash with Greg. Yeah,
Indeed,
Orange Magic
he's got a lot of
Orchestra.
albums, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
puns on real ones. I had a particular liking to the philosophy majors, not
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm a philosophy major, and Nietzsche's Breakdown, which is presumably after Beyond Good and Evil,
Oh.
after he wrote that.
Yeah.
At which point Friedrich Nietzsche
Mm-hmm.
thought he was kind of a prophet, Zarathustra. I can't pronounce it. And he kind of
I
went a
see.
bit insane. He's
Mm.
an interesting guy. But that's not what
Song.
this is about. That's just a song. A song which is a bop
Yeah,
to
they
Stephen and
do.
Connie, and they dance.
They do.
And they fuse.
It's very
Dun
cute.
dun dun. Yeah. That's
It
the
is.
first time that Greg has seen them fuse.
There's looks though. There's looks, which definitely, because you know, we've discussed before, like you know, they're good friends. And they, you know, like the first time that they fuse, I would say more is just like because you know they're really close. There's a couple of looks as they're kind of spinning
Yeah.
that at this point makes me pretty sure that it's it is almost definitely more than that at this point. But yeah, like you said, they fuse. And Greg's there, just like
They fuse.
um, yeah,
Understandably shocked. Stephen, sort of just acts as if it's normal. But Connie's first reaction is to plead with Greg not to tell her parents, which is the start of where not the start. We've seen a lot of. We know that Connie's parents are a bit controlling. So I guess there's more of that.
Yeah, and again,
it's just more of that.
Whilst it is nothing like the thing that fusion can be compared to.
Mm-hmm.
To Connie's parents, if you tried to explain this, it would still be very we became one person, but not like that. But magic, it's not something that
it's not something
that's
easy
want
to explain,
have to
that's
deal
for sure.
with. Yeah, exactly. But Greg, is just like, because I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, oh no, how's he going to react? But I shouldn't have doubted him. Obviously, because Greg is amazing. But he's like, no, it's amazing that you guys confused. That's so cool. And why didn't you tell me? And why is this possible?
And indeed, as it turns out, Greg says he may be the only person who could understand. Because Greg is kind of in a similar situation to Connie, coming from a normal human world into a world of magic.
They are.
So they're similar.
And she's like, what do you mean? And then Steven's like, yeah, what do you mean? And yep, story time.
Indeed it is. And we start off with a song.
Oh, it's so good.
On a tape being recorded. This isn't my favorite song, I have to say.
No, it's not my favorite, but it's pretty good though.
I apologize, but this is one of the songs that I'm not a fan of.
I enjoy it more for the just seeing the gems actually playing instruments and stuff.
It's cool. And I like the visuals.
And I do I do quite like the it's not it's slightly dissonant harmony.
It's an interesting song. I love the way that the guitar solo that Greg performs is sort of reflects his emotional state in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rose has kind of in the song kind of hurt his feelings a little bit.
The lyrics are very important.
Yeah.
This one.
The lyrics are super important.
So she says, well, so the lyrics are, what can I do for you? What can I do that no one else can do?
It starts both of them saying to each other, what can I do that no one else can do? Asking why it is that they really sort of are with each other. They're asking it, but they're asking for it in a sort of transactional way, I guess. Like, why am I special to you? Presumably Greg will ask that because Rose is an alien from outer space.
Exactly.
And Greg's just a normal guy. And, well, I'm not sure why Rose would think that, but she is an alien from outer space who's mortal, and she doesn't know why Greg would
and again,
like her that
it is
much,
also just a song. we may be overthinking it,
Indeed, it is.
but yeah, and then Rose says, "Human man, you are so
Maybe.
much fun." I had planned on finding you
And
quite this entertaining.
also, like right at the start of the song, we see
We do
the shadow
again.
on Rose's forehead and
We
eyes
do.
is completely black.
Yeah.
And it's not like that all the time, but again, that's always there. It obscures her eyes slightly. It obscures her true intentions and her past.
Indeed.
But she is singing as if humans are just sort of like something fun, like an interest,
Which is how
a
she's
fad.
actually no, that's this episode. Never mind. We're not there yet. But yeah. I mean, that's kind of vaguely been implied, I think, the last time we had the flashback episode.
That was
Yes.
that was How I Met, isn't it? That last
Indeed.
one. Yeah.
But yeah, and she says, "Yeah, I like your band, and I do like Garnet's Woo, and I like your song. I like the way human beings play. I like playing along," which is true, and
Yeah.
it is clear that there is more to her relationship with Greg, because again, this is just a song, but he takes that one more personally, probably, which again is also fair from his perspective. Like I can see this song and be like,
Yeah.
well, I can see why he'd kind of be upset with this, but also it's yeah. I mean, it is clear from before and from here and from later that Rose does have many relationships with many people.
Yeah.
Over the years.
She has had a lot. Now, Greg starts a guitar solo, which starts off fairly normal. I mean, if a little bit sort of not like offbeat, but purposefully sort of. I don't know all the terms, sadly.
It's
But
something.
well, it's not always like on the beat. Let's say it's in like.
It's. I mean, that'd just be offbeat. I mean, it's a guitar solo, so those aren't. But I know what you mean. It's just a. It's a bit more.
It's like a.
No.
It's
Yeah,
not a simple
it's a complex
melody.
melody.
Let's say. That's
Yeah.
like in
Which
fourths
again,
or whatever.
Guitar solo, so usually are quite different. But
Yeah, and then when Pearl walks up on stage and whispers to Rose, and they fuse, the guitar solo goes into a sort because he's in awe, obviously, and the guitar solo reflects that because he does this sort of he strikes this strum, which is really nice. And then it goes back to being slightly sort of discordant and chaotic until we reach the sort of crescendo where it stops.
Pearl is like, haha, I have won. But Greg's just like, that's
Indeed.
super cool. Like, yeah,
exactly.
This whole time Pearl's just been like, she's not like Amethyst is playing the drums. We've got Garnet on like a keyboard guitar. Yeah, that's the one. And Pearl's just kind of off to the side, being like, flipping Greg, right? That's my Pearl dot. But anyway, yeah,
same instruments they played in Stephen and the Stevens, except for Pearl, who had a violin, I think, or something.
Something like that. But yeah, Greg is just like, wow, that was really cool. Also, we saw rainbow quartz with leg warmers, which is I guess it's winter style, I think. Leg warmers, because that's what Pearl has, and so that's what rainbow quartz gets. But yeah. Pearl explains, but yeah, she's like, I have to go. Oh, I'll see you later. That's that moment of, are you doing anything later? You know I'm not. It's like it's good, but not cool, Greg. Cool. Yeah.
We get a bit of that later, don't we?
Yeah.
In another
but yeah,
episode.
Amethyst is still being Amethyst. She's like, I play the drums. Give me stuff.
Yep. Getting paid and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
getting paid in
Popping
sweets or
candy,
whatever.
I think.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
And Pearl goes up to Greg
Just a phase.
and says about you're just a phase, a novelty. And Pearl is smug here. And she tells Greg that humans can't fuse, and fusion's their sort of way of expressing an ultimate form of affection towards another. But that smugness is like slightly dropped when Greg says, well, I mean, I've tried. Maybe it'll work.
But again, what's also interesting, we get another point here where she's like, you don't know anything about Rose. And granted, he doesn't know as much as she does, but Pearl doesn't know everything either.
Indeed. Indeed. Now, I like when they drop the mic, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's actually really expensive. I shouldn't do that.
Indeed.
Now, Greg is like practicing fusion, a bit like Steven was a long time ago. And he tries to copy Pearl's moves.
That's not going to work.
But
For no other reason.
Exactly. Garnet explains
Yeah.
sort of how it works. First, her explanation is just that, oh, you need to be a gem, basically, with a body made of light. But then we get an actual sort of heart-to-heart. Because Garnet, she's a sucker for romance. They are hopeless romantics, and so she's like, Greg could be in romance with Rose. It's time. And so she tells Greg that Greg's got to be himself in order to make this work. He can't be like Pearl.
And I like how Garnet just throws the stick, and Amethyst is like, "Yep, I'm gonna get stick."
Garnet's description of how to really do it is to be open and honest and invent yourselves together. It's about openness and honesty, but also about creating an identity as a couple rather than as two different people. And it's also the first time that Greg's seen Garnet's third eyes.
Oh yeah,
he's
good
quite
point.
Shocked about it.
She does.
Because she always has a visor on, pretty much. So Greg sets up a nice little dance floor. And
they do.
Greg and Rose dance.
It is very sweet.
It's very nice.
Dance and they kiss.
Indeed. Greg has to go up onto a box in order to actually reach Rose.
But they don't fuse.
Yeah. And Greg is surprised. But Rose just sort of like laughs it off. She's a little I guess distanced from his emotions. Because she says, like, I love humans, you're all so funny. Oh, that's not quite it. That's not. I mean, like, firstly, she says you're all instead of just talking to Greg, but also, it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah. But yeah,
But Rose doesn't really
no,
know what Greg's talking
he's like,
about
I'm worried
just
about the
yet.
future, and she's like, ask Garnet. Like, I don't know if you respect me, and she's just kind of laughing because she doesn't really understand what he's saying. Just yet. But then he's like, can you just speak to me like I'm a real person? And she gets a bit more serious.
And Rose says she's not a
Because
real person.
she isn't.
I guess.
Almost literally.
I mean, technically, she doesn't sort of consider herself. Well, she's obviously not a human, and so she's sort of distanced from humans.
Yep.
So she's not a person in that sense. But also, Rose Quartz,
Yep.
the figure, isn't real. It's just a construct from Pink Diamond.
And then Greg's just kind of like, oh yeah, she's an alien.
I guess that's the first time it really sunk in. Greg laughs and cries at the same time, which is a.
And he's just like, how on earth is this gonna? How on earth is this gonna work? We're so different, you know. Not fusion, but we're
They finally.
They do
get to have that heart-to-heart. Because we know that fusion is about when people are in sync, so Greg imagines that if they're so different, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
And so they talk, and they have a they have a time
Greg
talking.
Says, I barely
it's
know
great.
you. She said that's a good thing, which is true. There are many dark secrets that she has, as we know. Rushed into this, but again, she's thousands of years old.
Indeed. Rose never misses her.
No, she does not.
Home planet.
And she's like, how did you end up with Harpo, Groucho, and Chico? I like how it's like some hand shape, and you've got Garnet just chilling there, Amethyst just sitting there, waving, and Pearl like at least attempting to be hidden, but also constantly peeking out. And yeah, those are three long stories. And we've had.
They are indeed, and
2 of them. 1 of them. 1.5 of them.
We haven't had.
Haven't we? Do I keep
Garnet's
skipping ahead in my
yet.
head? I do. I keep skipping ahead. Oh.
Because that's the answer. That's a bit later, isn't it?
We haven't had Pearls.
We don't have Amethyst because that comes in the movie.
I was
We've had none of them.
Completely
Those are
off.
3 long stories that we don't know. We don't have Pearl because that comes in season 5's Your Mother and Mine.
Yeah, none of them. So there's our 3 long stories. We'll get to those. But yeah, Pearl's like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And Garnet's just like, be quiet, Pearl. Shush.
So Craig asks if she's loved other humans. Rose immediately asks whether Greg has. And he says yes, and she says then yes. But then Greg asks whether she's actually been in love with a human.
Yeah.
And Rose doesn't know. And Greg says that the way to know that is that it's torture. Is this something you can explain to my ace mind of why Greg says this?
It's true. He's like, yeah, it's torture, and she's like, oh no, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, it's fine. She's like, but it's torture. Yeah.
I'm as confused as Rose is, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And I'm confused about how you're confused.
Why?
Because I'm confused then, but yes, we're all. because
What?
we're different people, you know. And yeah,
I have no idea
That's-
what you're talking
that's
about.
kind of the point, in a way. I don't know what I'm saying. Cool.
No, I
And
don't know
that's
what you're
basically
saying
what's going on
either.
here.
Why? I don't know why Greg says it's torture, but
Oh, okay. Right.
I do not know.
Well, loving a person, if if you love someone and you don't know their feelings about you for a start, that is horrible and really sucks. To be around a person and have feelings for them and them to not know that, or something like that, is not fun. To tell someone that you have feelings for them and them to not reciprocate them, that's also no fun. Uh,
Oh, is that why when Greg like clarifies,
yeah.
have you ever been in love with someone?
Well, and again, like, yeah, it's the concept of love is very complicated, and yeah, probably requires a lot more talking than the time we have now. But like, you
In that
in a
case,
summary,
I might understand.
you can love people, right? You can love your parents, your brothers and sisters, your friends. Um, that love is a very different love to a love that you will share with a partner. Um, you can also, you know, think that you might love someone, but that just be like a very surface level thing. Um, and you very quickly find that you actually don't love them. Um, yeah, yeah. You okay. One could, look at a person and think that they have fallen in love and that and they might love that person. Lots of people, they love a celebrity, that kind of thing. They love that person. It's their idol or their hero or that kind of thing. But there's a difference between there's a difference between that
Parasocial.
and knowing a person, getting to know a person and, knowing their flaws and their faults, but also what's great about them. Um, you know, things they like, what they like to do, all the stuff on the inside that just from looking at them externally you don't get. And that's the kind of stuff that, at least from my perspective, which again could be very different to a whole bunch of other people, is what that's truly how you know if you're gonna fall in love with someone. It's complicated. But that's kind of the point. Is that Greg has no idea what he's doing, if this is gonna work, and neither does Rose. And honestly, that's not any different from two humans. Um, there's
And the fact that they're
exactly,
confused
you
about
know,
it is what they have in
it's like
common.
most people when they go out, there might be, oh, I'm going to uni, or I'm starting this job in this other place, or we won't be able to see each other very often. Um, all kinds of like hiccups and bumps and things in the road of a relationship, and the relationship might work out, it might not, but it's something that you're hopefully in it together. Um, and yeah, they share their confusion, and that's kind of where they start. It's just like, cool. Well, we're both confused and don't really know if this is going to work, but at least. Gotcha. Right. So. Oh, thank you.
That was very moving,
I'm
Ollie.
sure it made some degree of sense at some point. Greg, this whole time, like through this whole like last bit, is like, I am concerned that you don't, respect me. You don't think, you don't take me seriously, I don't know what this is. I think kind of thinking that Rose does, but when Rose says back to him, no, I don't understand, what this is either. That's kind of, that's clarity. That's something like a weight lifted from his shoulders, because like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not just the one in the dark. You have almost no idea what this is either.
Yeah, kind of clarifies that it's not just like
Exactly, because
one of Rose's
and I
flings.
could obviously be wrong with this, but as from what Pearl says later, Greg is the first person that she truly falls in love with. Greg's not old here. Greg's, I don't know if we have an exact age, but Greg's young. He's pretty young. He
Greg's
might have
pretty
had
young.
other loves. I don't know if he's actually been in love. He says he has
He says
loved
he's
other
been.
humans. So yeah, again, that's complicated. So yeah, it's entirely possible he has been, and he's just more confused this time because she's an alien. But it could also be that this, this kind of love is different, I guess. Because like oh, what's the jerk's name? Marty.
Uh, the chap.
Marty. Marty might
Oh, Marty.
have loved
Yeah, I know Marty.
Vidalia for a few nights, a few weeks maybe, and she might have loved him, but were they in love?
Probably. I mean, from what we know,
Sort
he
of,
sort
kind
of
of left, didn't he?
made
So
her pregnant and left.
possibly not. Anyway, that's more expanding on. That's me just being like, Flip, how can I attempt to explain these concepts that people are still just trying to explain? But
Now, while
no.
Greg and Rose didn't literally fuse in this,
Hmm.
like they didn't become
Yeah.
Steg, like so it'd be like Reg.
Yeah.
They did all the things
Yep.
that Garnet said.
Mm-hmm.
They were open and honest, and they told each other that they don't
Exactly.
know what like they together are is. They don't know what
Yeah.
they are, but they're going to find
Exactly.
out. They're going to invent themselves, and that's why Garnet
Yeah.
says,
Because
"Yeah, they
they've accepted that
fused.
they are something together. And they're gonna figure out what that is.
They created." It's like how Garnet said in the last episode. Even if she's not
Yeah,
there
exactly.
physically, she's still there. And I guess a fusion between
Yeah.
Rose and Greg is there, even if
I mean, it's
they
also very
never
similar
actually
to what
fuse.
Garnet says the first time she sees Stavoni, right? Which is you're an experience. I'm pretty sure that's what she says. Like, if a relationship isn't an experience, I don't know what it is. And that doesn't change whether you are two people magically combined into one person, or just two people who have a connection, and wish to, do things together. And I could probably extend beyond a romantic connection as well, to be fair, but that's what we're focusing on here. Because as we know, fusion isn't a solely romantic thing.
And Pearl there has accepted that,
Yeah,
Greg might well be
Rose's favorite. Yeah, we
Rose's
end with Amethyst
favorite
saying,
over Pearl.
I think he's my favorite, which is sweet. And then, yeah, Pearl's kind of acknowledgement that, yeah. And then we're back in the present.
Indeed. Greg confirms that they weren't ever able to fuse, but it didn't really matter because they talked to each other, and that was that was what was important. But then Greg makes a mistake and starts talking to Connie and saying, like, if this is freaking you out, you can talk to me about it. But Stephen forgets that Stephen also needs to talk to people about things.
I think
and this might freak him out too.
I think because of the fact that at the start it was Connie who was freaked out. You know, it's like, please don't tell my parents, and he's like, I'm probably the only one to understand. That's why he's talking back to Connie there, because of that. And that's kind of what started the whole story. Not Stephen, so he figures Stephen's okay, which he probably was at the start. And also,
he probably was.
Think, and this is just a kind of a fault, I reckon. I don't know. I don't think Greg would think about the fact that Stephen wouldn't think to talk to him.
It's true. Stephen is someone who, as we've seen multiple times, doesn't tell everyone about it. But Greg might not know that.
Greg would be like, "Wow, you know, Stephen's my son. He knows he can come to me and tell me things. If he needs to tell me something, he can tell me."
I think he might have said it to him at some point.
But it's kind of a, if the difference in being that obviously Stephen is Craig again, for flip's sake, it's fine, we're still Gyark. That Stephen is part gem. He's got the gems to talk about that. Greg is his father, so at least I reckon that to Greg it would be a given that Stephen can talk to him. Whereas with Connie, because Greg is not her father, but is the only person who would understand. It's just like, hey, I am here because I understand that this stuff is, it is weird. It's new ground, like they said. She is the very first human to actually fuse with a gem.
But Greg does inadvertently alienate
Stephen a little bit.
Literally.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
When they high five as human beings, Stephen's just like. That comes up later in Stephen's birthday too.
Sure does.
And yeah, that's if we discount House Guest, because that show is just that episode is just Greg making mistakes, but I'm going to go ahead and say that was a dream. It's not
Greg
canon.
wanted to spend time with his son, and he made some very unfortunate decisions.
This is the mistake that Greg makes, sadly.
Yeah.
He's not always been there for him.
Yeah.
When he needs him. And sometimes you may need to recognize that Stephen can't always be the one to be proactive
that is
in asking
definitely
his dad
true.
for help.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel I can put the. I don't know.
Obviously, there's a lot of things that contributed to Stephen's declining mental state in the future, but him being alienated from humans, but also from the gems,
definitely true.
is one way, and that's how that's happened. That's one way.
Yeah.
And yeah, the whole thing about Stephen, like all the gems, and Greg thought, well, if there's something wrong with Stephen, he'll come over to us. They all thought that, and there was something wrong with Stephen, but he didn't come to them because he didn't trust what they had to say, or trust that they would take it well enough in future. So he kept it all to himself.
I don't know that I would entirely agree with that. Definitely parts of it, but that's a discussion we're going to have another time. I definitely get what you're saying, and you're definitely right. But there might be. I need to rewatch Future before I can properly, because I'm like, I feel like there's a couple
That's
of
fair,
things that
yes.
I'm remembering which I want to point out, but I've not remembered them well enough that I can actually point out what they are right now. So
Because they say to Stephen, like, "Oh, if you're feeling bad, then come
yeah,
talk
no,
to us."
yeah, no,
But we saw in Cactus Stephen that
yeah, no,
that's
you're
not
right. You're right. You're
something he
definitely
wants
right
to
on
do.
that part. We'll come to that. It's a long time going, and
Oh yeah, that's a long time coming.
it will be interesting when we get there. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, for Connie's sake, I'm glad Greg said what he said. I think it could have been, pretty bad if Connie kind of had to deal with all these things by herself as well. But yeah, no.
Yeah.
This definitely does not happen.
I imagine Connie's mum is probably sensible enough to book her a therapist after she finds out all of the things that
you're
they're doing.
probably right. But again, up until Nightmare Hospital, it doesn't really seem like she has that kind of relationship with her parents at all. Like
No.
it's
I'm excited for
like
that. That's a
Stephen
good episode.
has
But
Greg, whether he actually realizes it or not, and he might not, and that's that's unfortunate. Whereas so like I think Stephen could talk to to Greg, and that he'd be like, yeah, you can talk to me, it's fine, but he doesn't necessarily realize he can. Whereas Connie might want to talk to her parents because she's the kind of person who would like to kind of share that stuff, but is far too concerned with what they are gonna think or do because of that information. Which is actually, to be fair, probably what Stephen thinks would happen when he does tell people things, even though it's most likely not. So that actually kind of does loop together. But getting a bit out there now. That's just kind of rambling. So, yeah, I guess we'll leave this one here. We did manage 3 episodes. Indeed
we did. A new
Except
record,
for the first time
except
we did,
for
like,
the other
more
ones.
than that and stuff. But in recent memory, 3 is at least as many as we've done before. So go us. Yeah. Until next time, thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cabincast. For more episodes, go to www.cabincast.podbean.com or use the Podbean app. You can now also find us on iTunes and Pocket Casts under Cabincast and on YouTube. The uploads here are quite behind. Finally, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Cabincast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.